Um, Good morning. My name is Howard Kaplan. I am Danielle's Jewish stepfather, and she has asked me to make a short video answering some questions about Judaism and trying to provide you with my personal insights on being Jewish. Um, the first question that she asked me to answer deals with the different variations of Judaism and what I personally believe. Um, in the United States, there's basically three different types of Jewish beliefs, which is Orthodox, Conservative, and Reformed. When you go to Israel, there's a fourth, which is Hasidic, which is mostly, which is ultra Orthodox. The Hasidic and Orthodox beliefs are much more rigid and strict and follow the uh, biblical guidelines, such as keeping kosher. Conservative is sort of a blend between Orthodox and Reform, where some of the traditions of Orthodox Judaism are followed and some of the traditions of Reformed Judaism followed. Reformed is a much more liberal type of Judaism and probably more prominent in the United States than it is in Israel. Those are basically the different kinds of Jewish beliefs that we have, and it's not uh, completely undifferent than types of Christian beliefs where there's Catholics and Baptists and Methodists and Protestants, and they all have different uh, variations of what they believe, but they still tend to all believe from the same book, which is the Bible. The I am a cross between conservative Judaism and Reformed Judaism. I was bar mitzvahed in a conservative synagogue, and I had a bar mitzvah that was primarily done in Hebrew. Um, my brother was bar mitzvahed in a Reformed temple, and his bar mitzvah was primarily in English. Um, that's a little bit of a difference between Orthodox, conservative, and Reformed, as both Orthodox and conservative do a lot more in Hebrew, and Reformed is a lot more in English, which kind of leads me to the next questions, and I am referring to some notes that I made to try and be as thorough as I can. The second question that I was asked to talk about was what was it like growing up being Jewish, and what was it like going to Hebrew school. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is a very small Jewish community, unlike Austin, which has a much larger Jewish community. In my Jewish community, there was a relatively small number of Jewish people, and I knew all of them uh, from when I was very young, and went to Sunday school with most of them. Was confirmed with most of them, and had bar mitzvahs the same time that most of them did. And that makes it a little different than Austin, where there's a much larger Jewish community. Um, One of the things that I've always said about being Jewish, particularly in a small town like Shreveport, is that you understand from a very early age that you're not like everybody else, and that you are different. It's not a bad thing, and I think it helps a lot of Jewish kids become independent, because they learn from a very early age that they're not Christian, and they're not the same as everybody else. Uh, we have different holidays. There were times when, as a child, I was out of school for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, two of the most important Jewish holidays, and other kids were not. Um, it's also different around Christmas time because most people are celebrating Christmas, and you're not. That's not a obviously that's not a Jewish holiday, and so while everyone is celebrating Christmas, I was usually at home waiting until all my Christian friends had opened their presents and had celebrated with their families, so that I could go over there and then have some fun on Christmas with them. Um, it's just you know that you're not the same, and I've always thought that was actually a good thing. Um, as a Jewish kid, my father was an Orthodox Jew, and he went to Hebrew school 5 days a week. I was fortunate in that I only had to go 3 days a week, and he thought I was getting off easy because I only had to go 3 days a week. But I went to Hebrew school in a conservative synagogue for approximately 5 years, and that was all in preparation for my bar mitzvah when I was 13. So I roughly started going to Hebrew school when I was 8. And there were some drawbacks to that because the Hebrew school was in the afternoon after regular school, and I was not able to participate in some other events which I might like to, like playing baseball, because practice was after school, and I couldn't always be at practice because I was in Hebrew school. So the culmination of being in Hebrew school is to get your bar mitzvah when you are 13, and that is a very important point in a Jewish boy or Jewish girl's Jewish education and Jewish life, because that is the point in time when you become a member of a congregation and you are considered an adult in the Jewish congregation, even though you may only be 13. You will participate, you will lead a service, and you will have your bar mitzvah. And the reason that that is important beyond being a member of the congregation is, particularly in Orthodox and conservative synagogues, there are certain services which require a certain number of adults to be present, and once you are bar mitzvahed, you are now considered to be an adult and part of the adult community, so you can participate in those services as an adult. I'm looking at the next question, and the next question deals about the foods that I can eat and what is being kosher. I am a Reformed Jew, and I do not keep kosher, but there are Jews in the United States who do keep kosher, and a lot of times I'm asked, what does that mean? In today's world, being kosher is a symbol of Judaism, no different than wearing a cross around your neck. It's just a symbol of being Jewish, and there are certain rules that you follow in keeping kosher. There are a couple of basic rules which you cannot mix milk and meat. In the synagogue that I attended as a young child, there are two kitchens. You have two separate kitchens where you have two. One side is for milk, one side is for meat, and you cannot mix the two. And these rules come from the Bible and from the Talmud. And the basic rules of keeping kosher are pretty simple. There are only certain animals that are allowed to be eaten. Those animals have to be killed in a certain manner, and you can't mix milk and meat. If you're wondering where those rules come from, again, they come from the Bible, they come from the Talmud. Some examples of animals that can be eaten are mammals that have both cloven hooves and chew their cud. That comes from the Bible. Animals which aren't supposed to be eaten, which probably the most one everyone knows, which is being a pig. That's because they have cloven hooves, but they don't chew their cud. Fish with scales are considered to be kosher, but other types of fish, particularly those that eat off the bottom, are not considered to be kosher, such as crawfish, shrimp, crabs, and oysters. In regard to how you're supposed to kill the animals, it's supposed to be done very humanely. You're supposed to only cut once with a knife on the throat, and then the blood is supposed to be drained. And typically that was done by a rabbi. My father, as a boy, used to take the chickens to the rabbi so that he could kill them in accordance with the Jewish rules, and then they would be kosher, and then he would bring them home for his family. The other main rule is you can't mix milk and meat, and as I said before, you have to have two separate kitchens. In a completely kosher kitchen, there's going to be two sinks, two dishwashers, two sets of plates, and you simply don't mix milk with meat. And those are the basic rules for keeping kosher. The last question that I was asked to answer is, are there any particular rules for taking care of Jewish people in hospitals and after they may pass away? I'm not aware of any particular rules for taking care of Jewish people in hospitals. If you have any questions, I'm certain you won't have to go very far to find a Jewish doctor that might be able to help you. There are rules, however, after Jewish people pass away. I believe that most of the sects of Judaism do not believe in embalming, and that's part of the reason is that they believe that it's a desecration of the body. So after a Jewish person dies, they don't do anything, and there's no embalming, and there's no other special procedures that are done for a Jewish person. And it's the reason that many Jewish funerals happen very quickly. Most of the time someone will pass away on a Monday and the funeral will be Tuesday or Wednesday. And one of the reasons for that is because they don't believe in embalming. The other is they don't believe in open caskets. Once someone passes away and the casket is closed, it is not reopened for any reason. That's the questions that I was asked to answer. I hope this provides you with some information about being Jewish, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you.